I personally am not into politics. I don't like how it tears people apart, and it's not a topic I like talking about with anyone, like family, friends, because I don't like how people get so argumentative. So I would never do this. But welcome to Life Unleashed,
the podcast all about creating the best life for you and your furry best friend.
If you're a dog mom on the go, juggling life, work, and the endless joys of being a dog parent, then you're in the right place. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nick.
And together with the incredible dog mom community from Tails Up Pup, we're here to share advice, stories, and the obsession we have over the love for our dogs.
Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean on each other because life with your dog just got even more awesome.
The election is about to be here, so I thought it would be fun to talk about how the election affects our small business, because I feel like most people would not even think about those two things correlating together, other than obviously like their policies that they're implementing. But I'm more talking about the actual election and this time of year and how it affects our small business.
I feel like you have two camps of people. Some people like are very much like the election affects every single thing in every single way, and then you have other people that are like, you know what, it does affect stuff, but like I don't really notice many changes. I feel like you have two camps.
I feel like the biggest thing that it affects is the shipping time. And we saw a much bigger impact in, was it 2020? It was right around 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
2020. Okay. And so then I feel like we saw it way worse than we're seeing now, but it still is affecting shipping. And when we talked to our previous mailman, he gave us, I think it was his opinion, I don't know if it's fact or opinion, that there is so much political mail bouncing around that because the volume of things being shipped is higher, it is making shipping times longer.
Easier for stuff to get lost.
Yeah. So
I talked to our mail carrier here about the same
Did
thing.
you?
Yeah, and she was like, it makes the route take longer. Like it just, it's like, she's like, it's, we're in the throes of election season. There's just so much political mail out there.
There's
and I think
so much. And we're getting so much.
Yeah, we get so much. And it's like, the thing that's crazy about it is like, I don't know about y'all, but I throw away everything. And they all look, whether it's for one candidate or the other, they all look the same. It's like, negative this and negative this. And like, I'm like, this just trash.
It's shocking to me, but I must just be wrong, because why do they spend so much when a lot of it goes in the trash? But it must produce results for them to spend that much money on it. I would think that it would be better to put money into a TV commercial or social media, but they must get what they need out of the mail.
It's so crazy in the United States how much money is spent on like political campaigns, particularly for the presidency. Like it's billions of dollars.
How come they don't send emails?
They probably do. The other thing is, how am I getting so many text messages?
Yeah, the text messages this year, and I've seen other people post about that. I have never even in 2020, I don't remember getting text messages. This year, it is so many every single day. And even if I block them, they still come from another number.
Yeah, same. I don't know how that happens. I feel like there's privacy laws around like texting and things like that. But somehow,
so I do wonder how that would affect us if we did more text campaigns. We barely do any text campaigns, so we haven't seen any results. But I bet if you run a business that texts a lot, you're probably getting more people to unsubscribe or not even open your messages, because when it's a random number, even if they know it from like you texting them before, I would guess that they probably would not open them as often.
Yeah, it feels invasive.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't text me. This is my cell phone number.
But I remember in 2020, so many people were upset because their packages took 2, 3, 4 weeks extra long, or saying like, my package is lost. And almost ever, there has never really been packages that have been lost. There maybe I could count on one hand how many packages have actually been lost. It just is a delay.
Yeah, that's true.
But like recently we got a package returned to us that was 6 months old. So I would consider that lost, but it did get found 6 months later.
That is wild. It's like, it must have been in some bin somewhere just sitting.
Yeah, I always wonder like who held on to that for so long. But yeah, overall, I feel like the election mostly affects us with the shipping. What would you say?
Shipping wise, it definitely affects us that way. I tend to be in the camp that I don't know that it affects us. Obviously, like you said, policies affect and things like that. I try to take the view of like, I can't change the outcome of the election. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time like being like, oh, things are good because of this or things are bad because of this. I'm trudging along no matter what and not letting, that dictate how I feel things are going per se.
Well,
Because I think it can be very easy, like, the country's split pretty much 50-50. So if one candidate wins, 50% of the country's happy, 50% of the country's upset. And if it's your person in the office, you're saying things are going to be great. And if, it's the vice versa, you're saying things are going to be terrible. I feel like that's literally what you hear either side.
so you're more talking about your feelings for the future?
Yeah, feelings for the future. Like, a lot of people say, like, if so-and-so wins, if it's their person, the economy is going to do really well. We have to, because the economy and all these different things. And if the other person wins, they're going to be like, the economy is going to be terrible and all this type of stuff. But both sides feel the same way.
Well, you have to give me fact or myth on what I'm about to say, in your opinion, because I feel like there's no way to know. But financially, each election year, especially the months leading up, sales are definitely impacted.
Yes.
It's a fact that they are impacted, but it is unknown if it is due to the election or not.
It's a fact for us. And we do hear
and a lot of almost every person we've talked to.
Yeah, we do hear it from a lot of other people. We're not seeing their numbers. We can only for sure say about our numbers.
Yeah.
Every election year, sales, the months leading up to it, are always slower. I think.
And people are holding on to their money because they're unsure of what the future holds. And it doesn't matter which side you're on or what you believe in. Almost everyone is doing that because of the unknown.
Yeah, I think as people, like human beings in general, like we do not like the unknown. We like to be able to predict like what the future is going to be like, and just to have some level of certainty no matter which way it goes. And when there's the unknown, I think it's like, you know what? I'm not going to spend my extra money right now. I'm going to hold on to it. But I do wonder, I can't remember what it was like in 2020. Did we see a big outpouring afterwards? Like, did people, be like, oh, I'll spend now?
The reason why you're going to always feel that way is because then it goes into the holiday season when people are going to spend money, regardless of how they feel or who won or whatever. People start spending money. So I feel like you're always going to see that uptick because of the holiday season, and especially Black Friday being only like 3 weeks after the election.
Yeah, there's like a lot of confounding factors to make it really hard to like pinpoint what's going on and why. But it is one thing that you're right, we definitely can pinpoint. Election years have for us have always meant slower sales leading up to the election. That's a fact.
And it is a fact that groceries are more expensive now. So I think that also affects how people are spending. So it might not have to do with the election this year, but we know that we've seen it in previous election years, which is why we are saying that is a correlation. But if milk is more expensive, eggs are more expensive, people are going to have less money to spend on, per se, luxury goods.
I mean, pretty much right now, like, everything's more expensive. And, because we've had inflation and everything's more expensive now, as far as like total income for most people, it's like when you have less, disposable income, you're going to spend less money. So if your house and your groceries and all these things are more expensive, of course you're going to spend less money.
Yeah, I forget what the statistic was, but like the amount that people are paying from their income towards their house is astronomical. Like, people are not having as much money to even put into savings because everything is so expensive. And so it's hard for companies like us to be able to pay more because, we have to make more to be able to pay more. And so the correlation of things getting more expensive and people's salaries also usually aren't in sync.
Yeah. I mean, even think about like the housing for like the interest rates. Like, there's people out there that got, a 2% or a 2.5% interest rate, say that their mortgage is like $1,500 or $1,700. To buy the exact same house now, they might be paying like double, almost like $3,000. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I mean, and that's just a massive, and like, you're very unlikely that your salary went up that amount.
I think a lot of people will hold on to their houses and not move because of the rates. We ended up getting a much higher rate because we moved at this crazy time, but overall we're saving money by not having to pay for two places.
But we never felt like, maybe this is a stupid decision, it wouldn't have mattered because we ended up needing to move anyways. But like, we bought in 2018 and I think our rate was 4.5%. We never had the
super
2%,
low,
super low 2% rates or anything like that. And so, we didn't have that. It was still much higher to move now, but it wasn't like we went from a 2% to a 7%. It wasn't like that. And the thing that's also crazy, talking to my grandma, history lesson the other day, when they bought their house, I think in the 70s maybe, whenever it was, 13% interest rate. That's almost double
Wow.
what they are now, or is double.
That's wild. And people think it's like so high right now.
Right. That wasn't even that crazy abnormal back then.
But that's because we're comparing it to we had it like in our time recently so low.
Yeah, 2% is crazy low. It's almost free money. The other thing about the election, and this is like, this could be a non-election year, but like obviously like when the government, one of the big functions of the government is to like tax people. So like the one thing that can be affected, and particularly presidential elections are like, we're going to change taxes one way or the other, I feel like. So taxes can make a big impact for small businesses, all businesses, even households. If your tax rate goes up or comes down, that's going to make a big impact on, how you feel, how much money you have left over at the end of the year. So, the tax policy, makes a big impact on how you feel, as well as we've never experienced too much of this, but I know like government, the other thing that they do is like they come up with regulations and things like that. And some regulations, depending on the type of company that you have, can be like expensive to, have to comply with. I know like there was all that stuff that came out about like the financial reporting stuff. It just took time to do. It didn't cost us money, but like if you didn't really know how to do it and you had to hire somebody to, comply with signing up for all that type of stuff, that's, anytime there's extra regulations, it's going to take time and possibly money to comply with that stuff. So the more regulations that stack up, I think there's definitely a cost. Now, of course, there's reasons for regulations, but it does bring extra cost involved, And the other thing that I've seen, because we pay sales tax in a bunch of different states, that I've seen, they have a lot more like transport tax and like environmental taxes now. So that's something that I don't think they were always in place when I started paying taxes like 5 or 6 years ago in the other.
When we started and we talked to our accountant, she said the sales tax, everything about it is going to change soon because there were so few implementations for sales tax for online businesses, and she's like, this is for sure going to change, and we've seen it change. That's not in relation to the election, that's just a change. But it is
governmental, so like if you think about it, like that's we're not just talking about the president, we're talking about in the election in general, and like how kind of government, I guess, affects business.
But then that turns into a whole different topic. This was supposed to be more the actual election, how it affects us.
We can take tangents.
I have a fun game of what would happen if.
My favorite type of game.
You love the what ifs. Okay, I personally am not into politics. I don't like how it tears people apart, and it's not a topic I like talking about with anyone, like family, friends, because I don't like how people get so argumentative, so I would never do this. But if we were to post on our social media platform about politics and what we agree with and what we don't agree with, how do you think that would affect our platform, our following? Like, do you think people, like obviously people would come and people would go, because when people disagree with you or agree with you, they want to see it or they don't want to see it. They want to follow you or they don't want to follow you. Do you think it would have a positive impact overall or a negative impact overall?
I think there's 3 camps of people. I think overall it probably would have a negative impact. Maybe not. So you have, 50% of the country this way, 50% of the country the other way. But then the other group would be people that they don't really care about politics in general, or maybe they do, but they don't want to see it on our page. Like they're like, your job is not to like, I'm not coming to you for political stuff, so leave that be, and I don't want to see it no matter if I agree with you or not.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not into it, but also we never post about anything that is, like that, because our page, we've created it to be a place of happiness, a place of fun, and a place you can come and feel safe. So whatever global event, whether it's an opinionated or not opinionated thing, we just don't talk about it on our platform because that's not who we are. And we want people to feel like they can come to get away from something and just, be an escape, a place of happiness and a place for safeness.
Yes. One thing that I will say, this is a very different tangent, but I think it does relate to the presidential stuff. One thing that we in our household, we've probably been doing this the last 4 to 5 years, honestly, we don't have TV. And so we don't have cable. We don't have YouTube TV. You know, you guys may think that we're crazy. Regardless if you have those things or not, I feel like during this time, a lot of people get very caught up in watching the news. And I think the news is fantastic when you need to figure out, like, you know, what's going on in the world and things like that. But a lot of times, I think because of the way that the incentive structure is for the news stations, they want to keep you watching. They sensationalize stuff. They try to divide, because if they're dividing, more people are going to be like either angry or happy or whatever, and trying to just, they're making you tune in. And so if you spend all your time or more and more time, you find yourself during this election season watching the news, you may find that you're not as happy as you were, because that's gonna I feel like the more you watch that stuff, the more it eats away at, like, oh my gosh, the world is really bad, what's gonna happen, the country's gonna get destroyed one way or the other, all this stuff.
We see that in almost all of our family members, extended family members. Like, every person that we talk to is consumed by this, and because we are so pulled back from that, because we aren't consuming that type of content, I'm like, oh my gosh, if they could hear how they sound, like, it's not rational, and how much time they're wasting by consuming themselves in all of this. I just think sometimes it's nice to kind of be distant. And some people might think the opposite. They might think we're uneducated or we don't know, and that could be true because we don't consume as much of that information. But for us, it makes us happier, and it is, I don't know.
Well, I think it's a balance of, like, making sure that you're educated on, like, general policies and things like that. But so much of, like, and this has been this way for, you know, a long time. So much of news, whether it was in the newspapers or it's like mudslinging and just bad stuff, and it's very negative. And if you're spending your time around, like, all these negative stories, whether it's violence, negative political stuff, saying bad things about someone else, that's going to bring your overall mood and, you know, kind of vibe down. And you're going to be less happy.
I also think not just political wise, but almost everything in life now is controversial. Like, it is wild. So I feel like now more than ever, you have to be so conscious of what you say, because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or you don't want to be attacked for something you believe in. Like something like what swaddle you put your baby in, or like how much tummy time they get. Like these crazy things that I wouldn't have even thought about talking to someone about. Like they just seem like, oh yeah, like this is what we do. It's crazy that people will be like, oh my gosh, you're so bad for doing that, or like, why don't you do it this way?
Well, if you spend a lot of time online as well, like the internet will come after you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like you said, it could be literally, you know, anything, and they're like, well, I can't, there's a group out there that's going to come after you. And that's just not a fun thing, like, to have that happen.
I think it's been interesting to see how something I don't even think twice about that affects someone in a certain way. For example, like I talked about the knives that we use, and like someone was like, you shouldn't use that type of knife. And it's just crazy that, you know, every single thing affects someone differently. And I think it is good to have in your mind to be careful about what you're talking about, because if you are a place of happiness and safeness, you don't ever want to make someone feel bad, or like, you know, you just want them to be happy.
Yes. However, I do think that it is important to, like, and this is the hard thing to balance, is like sharing your true authentic self and not changing for other people. Like,
well, to me, that means I'm not coming out and saying I use this and lying. That to me is inauthentic. If you just don't talk about it, then to me, it's still authentic, and you just aren't talking about something.
Right. But
I don't know.
No, I mean, I think certain things that are like clearly controversial, that's going to, you know, stir up a lot of fuss or something like that. But a lot of the other stuff, I feel like, you know, we do share, you know, lots of things about our lives, things that we use that I guarantee you people find controversial, but we feel like that's fine to share. Like there's certain things that, like, if that's going to be the controversy or whatever, you know, that's such a small thing that, like, you know, we don't not say stuff because we don't want controversy, is I guess what I'm trying to say. We're not trying to be scared about that type of stuff. However, certain things, it's like we choose to not talk about that because it's only going to be controversial.
And I mean, we
Politics is a great
definitely talk
example of
about
that.
controversial things, because most of our question of the days are controversial things. Like today's is, what type of jelly is superior, grape or strawberry?
Ooh, definitely strawberry
Yeah, you're
or
strawberry.
Raspberry.
That wasn't an option.
Okay.
You only got 2 flavor options.
Definitely strawberry. Not even
We are
close.
not a grape household.
No.
Controversial. think the findings of this is overall, there are financial impacts and shipping impacts, but it's not detrimental to our business. And, well, hopefully not. I guess you don't know the long-term effects. Isn't it wild that there's never been a female president yet?
Yeah, that is wild. Very wild.
This is 2024.
Could be.
That's crazy.
We're going to know very soon.
That is wild. And it will be here. And then hopefully, the financial impact of our business will be a little picked up for the holiday season. Shop small. And we will be having a Black Friday sale coming. I know people always like that. We got to start planning that. And that's actually a podcast episode is, how we plan for Black Friday. I don't know I have that much to say on that, though. Do I? It's one of those things where I feel like I don't, but then I'm sure I have
There's literally so much to say about that topic.
Yeah. And we have to decide if we're going to do it like early Black Friday. I don't know. There's lots of things to think about.
Ooh, one thing too that we didn't talk about. We're not voting early. We're going to vote on the day of this year.
Is that a new thing?
We've always voted on the day of. I don't know why I said it like that.
I've seen so many people this year, though, vote early.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if that's new or not. But we looked into it, and we would have to go kind of far to vote early, so we're just going to go the day of, and hopefully the line's not too long. It'll be Callan's first voting experience.
Voting is actually I always feel very nostalgic for being an American, being at a vote, because not every country in the world you get to vote and choose your leaders and stuff.
Yeah, Nick has turned me around because I was the girl who was there's so many people in the world, my one vote doesn't matter. But Nick has told me every vote matters.
Every vote matters, and it's more the intention behind it.
Yeah. So I have come around to that.
So, if
I
this
still
is...
kind of feel, though, does my vote really matter?
Everyone should get out and vote. No matter who you're voting for, get out and vote because, that's a right that not everybody has. And I think it's important.
Especially women. We worked hard to get this.
Yeah, women definitely did not always have the vote. So
that's wild.
That is also wild. Isn't it very crazy to think about all these things back in the day that was not standard like it is today?
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that this was interesting for you, and I hope that we are heading into the holiday seasons with a fun and happy spirit. Maybe start putting together your wish list for what you want from Santa.
I tell you one thing, I'm going to be very glad for all the political mail to be done and for all the crazy, there's so many political ads and stuff out there. Just I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah. And for everyone to come back together as one and be happy and not torn apart.
Yeah, that also is sad.
Yeah. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.